Good morning, friends. I am Patty Elhoff, the author of Upcycle with Decoupage, and I thought we would take these books and turn them into something like this, something pretty that we can keep on our shelves, or you may want to give this to a special teacher as a thoughtful gift. Now, I am using these strictly for decoration, but I'll also show you how you can decorate them if you'd still like to read them every once in a while. And the first thing I did was I took my fabric, and this is the quilting fabric that you can find in blocks of fabric. And I didn't wash it. I laid it out over the book with about an extra 2 inches on each side, and cut that out with my fabric scissors. Now, I could only make the line so straight with my scissors, so I ended up using my rotary cutter on the mat board here, the mat cutting board. And I made much more exact lines to go on the inside. You can skip this step if you're just going to keep these bundled the way I am. I'm just showing you how I got much neater lines on the inside. I then placed this around the book, just like we did when we were in school and we were putting paper on the books that we had. And I'm taking a matte decoupage glue, and you see that is a chip brush there. And I'm doing that because the fabric is much thicker than paper, so we're going to be using these chip brushes. And I covered the surface of the book and just the front cover. Now you want to press this down. You're not necessarily stretching it, but you really want to make sure you get the ends here. They come up very easily. This book has writing on the cover that you can see right through this fabric, and I'll address that in the next clip. This book is going on the bottom of my pile, so I'm not worried about that. The surface is now dry, and what I'm going to do is take some decoupage glue and cover the whole surface. Now I'm just using this front cover, and I'm using a chip brush here, and I am going to wet my fingers because there tend to be lines from these chip brushes, but you do need the chip brush because the fabric really absorbs this decoupage glue. So you'll need a lot of decoupage glue for this project and a lot of patience, just because the fabric takes longer to dry. My fingers are dry here, now they're wet, and I'm just smoothing out any brush lines, and I will put this aside to dry, and it did take a couple of hours to dry thoroughly. Since this book is going on top, and it's a smaller book, I am using chalk paint. You can use gesso, chalk paint, acrylic paint, and you really only need one coating of this. Put it aside to dry. And while that's drying, make sure you go around your fabric and pull away any of these excess strings. You may need to cut them away, or you can just pull them away. You don't want those getting stuck underneath the fabric when you're doing the decoupage. And once that front part has dried, it doesn't feel tacky at all to the touch. We want to flip this over and just do the same exact thing on the back. Apply the decoupage glue. And you want to make sure this is matte because it keeps that nice fabric look that we want over the books. And just cover the whole back and put it aside to dry. Don't forget the spine there. And you do want to make sure you focus, pay special attention and focus on these ends, because it becomes very frustrating when those ends start to come up. Once everything was dry, I focused on the inside now, and you want to cut down here by the spine, just a little snip in there, and if you cut it on an angle it works best, and then fold these edges over. You may need to cut that one little section there too so that it doesn't go into the book. But you just decoupage these corners down, and I don't mean to confuse you, but I am cutting these inside edges because I didn't realize there was writing on the inside of this book, and I may actually go back to this book, and I needed that. So I cut away some of that excess fabric and I decoupaged the pages down. Right here on the corners, I cut out a little square of fabric so that I was able to flip those corners over, paste that down, And here again, corners. Flip that over and decoupage that fabric down to the inside of the book. When I'm all done, I'm going to press these edges down. Again, I'm trying to make sure these edges don't come loose. And if you can notice there on the bottom of the book, there's a little bit of a tab left over. So what I'm going to do is just snip that away. And the same goes for this one up top. I'm just cutting right along the edge there. And I found a good way to dry this was to place the spine and the cover flat down. Put 2 bottles on the outside of all of the pages and let it dry like this so none of the pages got stuck. This step is optional, but once that inside dries, if you are giving this book as a gift, you may want to go around the inside with a flat type of a trim and just tidy it up and outline those edges. You can use E6000 glue or a fabric glue for that. And let it dry the same way. And once the whole book is dry on the inside and outside, I'm taking the decoupage glue, covering the whole book. I'm using my fingers again to smooth out any brush lines, and I'm going to hang this over a hanger so that it can dry both sides at the same time. And once everything is dry, you want to add a matte varnish over the whole surface, the inside and the out. And to be on the safe side, I let these dry overnight because I don't want there to be any type of tackiness when I do the final step. And you can see I used 3 different size books here. And the final step was I wanted to take some embellishments. So I have some ribbons here, some tools, some little silk flowers, a shaky camera apparently. Sorry about that. And I took the tool first, and here you can see the books aren't sticking to each other. Now, you may want to stand these books up if you're giving, look at, just as this alone, you don't even need any embellishments on them. They're just pretty to keep around the house, just like this. But if you want to put them on a bedside table, you may want to add a touch of glue in between each book also. The E6000 again would work fine. I didn't use any glue, and I staggered the books a little bit. And I took 3 different ribbons, some tulle, the silk ribbon, a little bit of organza, and I tied them all around the front here. And I just made sure there was a knot in the center of each ribbon. So I knotted it right here, added the other ribbon, same thing, put it around, knotted it in the center. 3rd ribbon, did the same thing, and then I made my bow. And I gathered all 3 pieces of ribbon in order to make the bow, just like you'd make a bow on a shoelace, and just puffed out all of the ribbon. By the way, I have some beautiful pink burlap ribbon on my site that I'm going to buy myself. And I used some E6000 glue to attach a little string of pearls. And then I played around with these larger pearls and these little porcelain flowers that I got in the wedding department of a craft store. And I'm sorry I couldn't find those to put on my site, but I do have miniature roses on there for you. And this is how our project turned out. I would be proud to give these to someone as a little thank you gift, a teacher, even someone who trains your dog. It's just a nice little thought. Or you can keep them in your house. And like I said, these are going on my nightstand, but I also like to decoupage books separately. You can do this on a hardcover or on paperback books. It is better when you stagger. If you're putting them in a pile like this, it is better to stagger the sizes so you can see the different patterns. And the link to my website is right below this video. And Upcycle with Decoupage is also on Facebook. If you go over and like and follow the page, you'll be notified automatically every week when I put a new video out. I have a couple of bundles of these quilting blocks of fabric on my website, along with matching ribbons and pearls and miniature flowers. So if you click on the link right below in the description box, it will take you right to my website. And in the meantime, guys, Thank you so much for subscribing. That means everything over here. I'm going to leave you with a few pictures of the rhododendrons that are blooming in our yard. Can you tell I love pink? There's pink all over the yard. The hydrangeas haven't even started to bloom yet. Those are mostly purple and Nico blue. But let me show you some of the rhododendrons around the yard. I will see you next week with another video. I love hearing from you guys. Hope you're all well. I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you've got questions, it is taking a little bit longer. See you next week, guys. Thanks again. Bye-bye.